Now we're actually ready to build the system. Now, the first thing you normally will talk about is the tools that you need to put the system together. Now, the kind of tools you'll use really will depend a lot upon the hardware that you're actually using. For example, some cases are called toolless designs, like this one. I really don't need many tools to virtually take the whole thing apart and put it back together. Oh, there might be a few screws in there, so it's a good idea to have a screwdriver around. Also, when we get to working with the actual motherboard and processor, in most cases it's recommended you use an ESD protective wrist strap and an anti-static mat. I'm not going to actually use those during this build just to keep things simple and to prevent things from getting in the way of the view, but you might want to consider that if you're working on your own equipment, especially if you're in a dry area where there's a lot of static electricity. Basically, look in the booklet that comes with the video for a lot more information on the types of tools that you might need and might want to have, but I'm going to really just get right into it. First thing we're going to do when we go to build a system is start with the case, and what I want to do is completely disassemble this case. I want to take it all apart, get everything I can out of it, out of the way. It makes it a lot easier to install the motherboard, for example, when the power supply is not in the case. And any other things, drives, anything else that might be in there, you want to get out and out of the way. So this is a brand new case here. Let's go through the disassembly process and take this apart. Okay, now this is pretty much a toolless design. I've just got some thumb screws on the back here in order to take the side covers off. So I'm going to undo these thumb screws here and take the side panel off. This one's got a little bit of a lever. As you can see, the side panel comes off nicely. Now this case, you can see there's an air duct that is positioned over the processor. That's something we'll set up later so that it's properly positioned over the heatsink for the processor. So I'm going to set that down here. Okay, now this particular chassis, this happens to have the other side can also be removed with some thumb screws. So, you know, in the interest of making things more open and easy to get to, I'm going to take this side cover off too. Anything I can do to get things out of the way and make it easier to work on, I'm all for it. Okay, so now we have both of the sides off. Next thing I'd like to do is take the front panel off. Now, different cases have different, mechanisms or techniques for removing the front panel. Some of them have some little plastic tabs you'll have to press here, or sometimes a little locking lever or a latch you'll have to lift in order to release the front cover. This one basically just has some spring-loaded round clips that press into holes. So the way to remove this particular front cover is to grab on the bottom and literally pull the front cover forward and it will detach. So what I'm going to do is kind of move it over here, grab it, and literally just pull this off. So you can see once I've started, the rest of it just kind of pops out, and you can see these spring-loaded tabs that went into the holes here and the chassis. So this thing literally just snaps on and off. The whole thing comes off as a unit. It's got the power buttons on it, front panel ports. It's got drive access slots. Okay, so that's out of the way. I'm going to set that down here. Okay, now what else do we have here? Well, at this point, we might actually have to pick up a screwdriver, because what I want to take out next is the power supply, and that's held on the back with 4 screws here. So I'm going to use my handy-dandy electric screwdriver. I do like to use electric screwdrivers, although I don't necessarily recommend it for everybody. You have to be careful, for example, if your motherboard is installed with screws and you have an electric screwdriver, you don't want it to jump off the screw head and cause damage to the motherboard. And I want to be careful that I don't have this fall out on me. So once I get there, I've got one more screw, and okay, it looks like it's on a shelf there, so it won't be a problem to take this off. Now, another thing I've done here is I've attached a magnet to my screwdriver. This is actually a neodymium iron boron rare earth magnet that was taken out of an old hard drive, believe it or not. And I like to put it on here in order to magnetize the screwdriver bit so it holds the screws nicely. So having a magnetic bits really helps. All right, now that all the screws are out, I can basically push the power supply forward and take it out of the chassis. As you can see, I'm really opening things up here, making things a lot easier to get to. Next, I'd actually like to take the fan out. This one has a design where it's a toolless installation for the fan. I've just got some clips, and the rear fan pops out, no tools. What else do we have here? I've got the motherboard tray, which is right here. It's got one thumb screw. I'm going to take out the thumb screw, which locks it into place. And then to remove the tray, I simply depress this tab, slide it forward, and the tray comes out. Last thing I have really are the front panel ports and switches. And in some cases, I even like to take those out. So again, it just makes more room, makes it easier to get to things. So I'm going to pop that off here. And this just comes out like so. All the cables will come with it. Okay, so here's our front panel ports. Let's set that off to the side here. And then lastly, I've got the front switches and LEDs. And that's just held in with some tabs here. I'm just going to literally press on this and then push it out from the inside. And it will release these little plastic catches. And then I can now take that off. So there's my front panel switches and LEDs. At this point, the chassis is pretty much bare. This is the way I like to work with it when I go to install the motherboard and such. Now I'm going to be able to set this to the side, and we're actually going to work on installing the motherboard to the tray, or inside the case if you had a case that worked that way, and then installing the processor into the motherboard and the memory.